Ooh.
Anthony Rendon hates his job.
That was so good.
He hates his job. Listen, there was a news that came up yesterday, and this comes around with Anthony Rendon every once in a while. Really, ever since he signed with the Los Angeles Angels. And Casey, you have the transcript of the interview, so we'll put it on the screen. We'll read a couple moments, but we'll read the big parts. So Casey, go ahead and flash that up. Last year, you said you considered retiring. What's your mindset now? My enthusiasm has been the same since I got drafted. To be honest with you. I was actually deleting old emails because my storage to the maximum in my email. So I'm going back and deleting old emails. I emailed myself a pros and cons list of why I wanted to stay in the game. This was in 2014, a decade ago, when he was first breaking into the league. My thought process of the game has not changed since then. I keep making it this long. He says that he does not he made the pros and con list, said his family and his marriage, his 4 kids, are a priority over baseball, and he got kind of killed for it. He got kind of killed for that. So he said that baseball is a priority in the same sense that it's being a job. So here's my take as we come back to this. Not everyone has the same dream. And I'm not going to kill Anthony Rendon for not liking how he makes money. Most people in America don't like their job. Most people dredge waking up every day and going to work, making money. But for some, your talent supersedes your own will. And when you get $250 million, that's what he signed. He signed pretty much the exact same contract that Joe Burrow signed last year. 7 years, $250 million. This was back in 2020. When you get that much money to play something, even if you don't like the job, you've got to do it. It's your responsibility. He's in the top half percentile of baseball players on the planet. So he's got to do it. I'm not going to kill Anthony Rendon for not having the same dream as me or so many others. And I hate to admit this. I feel like a loser when I admit this. I still, at night, when I lay my head on my pillow and Elliot imagines Brock Purdy hoisting the Lombardi trophy,
That's right.
I sometimes dream of playing professional baseball. It's the only dream really I've ever had. I've got a fantastic wife, and it still makes me sad when I wake up from those dreams. I'm not going to kill Anthony Rendon for not having the same dream as me. He's made $250 million doing this job, and he's got to show up to do it. I don't know what your guys' take is on this, but I don't think any less of Anthony Rendon for not liking playing baseball. Adam Dunn was a very famous Cincinnati Red that didn't like playing baseball. He just did it because he could hit the ball 450 feet.
Yeah, I saw this quote yesterday, and I listened to the interview. This goes back to what Reid just said, and it's that not everybody has the world's greatest passion for their job. Some people are good at things, but it doesn't mean they like their job. Anthony Rendon is one of the world's greatest baseball players. He's probably not a giant fan of the sport. That's okay. That's how he makes money. That's how he provides for his family. Where this gets a little confusing for me is that the signing with the Angels has gone so very wrong. This will go down, and I was telling Reid before the show, this might go down as one of the worst contracts in all of baseball. It hasn't worked out. In 4 seasons with the Angels, he hasn't eclipsed 58 games played. Offensively, he's nothing. Defensively, he's nothing. He contributes nothing to the Angels. Yet he makes a lot of money. And I think that's where the questioning was coming into play, because it seems like, at least from the outside, from a stupid fan's perspective, it seems like it's very visible that he doesn't want to be there. It's visible that he doesn't want to play, participate. His disdain for baseball is noticeable, and I think that's where fans are kind of a little bit tired of it.
So this is where you can't get mad at Anthony Rendon for making $250 million, because he deserved it. He played on the 2019 Washington Nationals, who won the World Series. This is a team that has future Hall of Famer Max Scherzer on it, future Hall of Famer, I believe, Juan Soto on it, perennial All-Star Trey Turner on it, perennial All-Star, former perennial All-Star, and Cy Young candidate Steven Strasburg on it. And Anthony Rendon was the best player on that team. He deserved every cent that he got in that contract. But you can't kill Anthony Rendon for signing that contract for making money.
No.
You can get mad at the Los Angeles Angels front office for not doing their due diligence. And though I say you can't get mad at people for not having the same dream as all of us, for not liking the sport as much as, say, I do or others do. But you can't get mad at the front office for like not.
No, I'm not mad at the
You can't get mad at the Angels and be
front
like,
office.
hey, before we give a guy $250 million, does he like doing the job that we are going to pay him to do? Does he enjoy showing up to the ballpark every day? Listen, our boss, Trace Fowler, who pays all of us, who gets sponsorship, probably a prerequisite for this job is, hey, do you like being on camera? Do you want to be in front of people? Do you want to, give takes? Do you want to give opinions? Do you want to do this? Even if you're good at it, and do you want to do it? Seems like a prerequisite before you sign somebody.
I agree. I mean, the way I look at it is he takes his job home with him too. Like, it's not, he doesn't get a break like we do from a 9-to-5 job. He has to constantly be working every single minute of every single day, staying in shape, working out, making sure he's in a good position for the ball club to win. So I understand where he's coming from. In a way, it's like you never get a break when you're a professional athlete. Never.
I think this is where the line's a little bit. You're right, Casey. You're right. And a large part of that whole discussion yesterday was he basically said, I don't want to be injured all the time.
Andrew Luck quit.
My job makes me hurt all the time. I don't want to get surgeries on every part of my body every single year. And that's where you can kind of see the love for baseball drain from his body year after year, having to deal with all that. And that's the part where Casey's 100% right. You're bringing your work home every single day. Reid and I have this conversation a lot. It's like, I don't want to bring our work home. We work at Chatterbox Sports. Mm-hmm. We don't like to bring it home a ton. So when you're a professional athlete, it shouldn't be different. It shouldn't be different. The difference is, and again, it's because that he makes a lot of money. And that's where we differ.
Right.
He plays, and this is where like
a boys' game.
The older generation will say, "Well, he's only playing a game, right? It's just a game, and he's playing, and he's getting paid millions upon millions of dollars. So why not be a little bit grateful?" That's what I think. That's the disconnect. And Evan's right in the chat that reporter clearly had a motive.
Was fishing.
That reporter clearly had a motive with those questions. But saying all that, again, if you're me. If I was an Angels fan and I'm looking at this Anthony Rendon contract and I'm seeing that interview, I'm not walking away happy from it. I think that's a fair point too. I think you're allowed to be a fan and say, I'm not thrilled that one of the highest paid players on our team hates the sport. And again, that's misquoting. He didn't say he hates baseball. He said it's not a priority, so that was my bad. But the point being is, again, you would want your guys to like what they do when you support them night in, night out as fans.
Let's also be very clear about him saying it's not a priority. It doesn't mean he's not doing the effort that it takes to win either.
Well,
that's not what that means. It means that it is not the utmost important thing to take care of. But he's still doing it. He is still at the top of his level, right? Despite being hurt.
He's not very good.
Well, when they signed the deal.
When they signed the deal,
he was at the top
free agent on the market.
And he's been in the game for quite a long time.
A decade, yep.
My point is, he was still doing enough to have success. It wasn't like he wasn't completely ignoring taking care of himself and all that other stuff.
And here's the thing is about the top priority. Your job shouldn't be your top priority. And I hate to break this to some of you. If your job comes before your wife, your kids, your family, I would go out on a limb, and I apologize for assuming too much here, but I would assume that the happiness level that you're living in your life isn't very great. Now, you can feel fulfilled from your job, and you should give your job all the effort that you have, all the extra effort you have. But the second that it takes a front seat over your faith, your family, your wife, your kids is perhaps when you should reel it back a time, just a step or two. Just a step or two.
And I think it didn't help, too, that I think it was either right before or right after the Mike Trout clip kind of came out. And he was basically saying, I'm loyal to the Angels. I want to be here. Getting traded, requesting a trade is the easy way out. And we're going to play that clip right now. But I think it's just Angels fans seeing two superstars behave in very, very different ways regarding their organization. This is Mike Trout.
For me personally, I'm focused on the season. I'm not worried about what happens or where do I want to get traded or I'm not going to get traded. I'm not worrying about any of that. I'm going out there and play my game. I gotta put a full season together. Let me see what happens. I think the biggest thing right now is I think the easy way out is just ask for a trade. There might be a time, maybe. I really haven't thought about this, but when I signed that contract, I'm loyal. I want to win the championship here, and that's mainly. I think the overall picture of winning a championship or getting to the playoffs here is bigger satisfaction, bailing out and just taking the easy way out. So I think that's been my mindset. Maybe down the road if some things change, but that's been my mindset ever since the trade speculations came up. So that's where I'm at.
And I think it goes to show, and again, Mike Trout, one of the greatest players of all time. He stuck with the Angels through all their trash, all their baggage that they bring. He stuck with them. And I think fans look at that, and then they hear Anthony Rendon say, baseball isn't a top priority for me, and they get upset. So that's where the overreaction comes into play. The reporter was fishing. Some people don't like their jobs. That's just how it is. He makes a lot of money doing a job he doesn't particularly love. It's not. He's a human being. It's not one thing where you have to love your sport or love your job always.
Right, and sometimes your God-given gifts are so great that you have no other option. Listen, there's actors who hate what they do.
Yeah.
There are singers who can't stand going on a stage. There are comedians who hate being thought of as a joke. All these oxymorons are just part of the life we live. Sometimes you have so much talent that it overflows, and you really don't have a decision on what you do. The way that he helps his family, which is his top priority, his kids, his wife, is by prospering in a sport that's going to make him $250 million. So I get it. Listen, I get it. And Nick Kirby actually put a really good comment in the chat. He said, this has happened many times, folks, in all sports. A guy gets a monster payday, then production, motivation, health goes south. Just about the time the ink dries. I remember Andrew Jones, who for a decade was like Ronald Acuna-like, Hall of Fame level. If Andrew Jones gets into the Hall of Fame one day, it'll be for that 10-year stretch where he was maybe the best player in baseball. Signs a huge deal, comes into spring training, and does the opposite of what every commentator says. Best shape of his life. Andrew Jones put on quite a bit of weight. Wasn't the same player. Wasn't that same guy that played in shallow outfield and got 10 gold gloves and would steal 40 bases and hit 35 home runs. Wasn't that guy anymore. This happens. You chase one thing, and this is where some people are right when they are weary of giving big paydays. But as I've said earlier, you can't get mad at Anthony Rendon for saying, hey, I love my family, my wife more than this sport. I don't like this sport that has caused me to be injured all the time as much as I used to. And even then, he said 10 years ago, he did a pros and cons list of why you should stay in the game. That was when he was breaking into the league. Can you imagine finally getting into the pinnacle of whatever profession you choose, and you go like, do I still want to do this? Do I still want to show up every day? I don't know. Listen, we talk about that there's things about everyone's job that they don't like. I'll be honest, just as me just laying it out. One thing that comes involved with this job that I don't necessarily love is all the social media aspect of it. I like tweeting. I like telling a joke on Twitter. I don't like scrolling through Twitter all day to stay up to date with the news. I don't like always having to put opinions out about every single thing. Yeah, I like messing with people from time to time. That's where the troll Reid comes from out under the bridge. But everyone has something in their job that they don't necessarily like.